Hi, Caroline, and welcome to your interview for International Women's Day. So, you've trained with us extensively at Soul Awakening Academy. You've trained as a master spiritual life coach and energy psychologist, and I know you have
Mm,
other tools that you bring in as well, different trainings that you've done. And now I can see that you're on social media, you're really pushing yourself forward, you're helping so many women. And I just really wanted to interview you just to share your story of inspiration. A lot
mhm,
of the theme that I'm finding around the students that come to Soul Awakening Academy is going on a journey of post-traumatic growth. So it's where we've had this traumatic experience, be it physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. You have enough distance between it to be able to reflect on it and go, wow, that has changed me in ways I never thought possible. And with that experience, I am now XYZ. So it's
mhm.
this growth that comes from trauma. So I'd love for you to share your story of that and now what you're doing and maybe some client success as well that you've been having.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so it's great to be on here, Anne-Marie. And yeah, I started my journey with Soul Awakening back in the end of 2020 when we were in the middle of COVID.
Right.
Seems like a long time ago now,
I
but
know.
so much has happened since then.
Yes.
Yeah, so when I first came to Soul Awakening, I was full of anxiety and constantly overthinking, constantly overanalyzing, really feeling anxious most of the time. And I'd hidden myself in work, I would say, to distract myself from those emotions. And I think one of the first conversations I had with you, you said you're in your head a lot. And I remember that conversation because I didn't realise that's where I was. And I thought, what's Anne Marie talking about? Of course, I've learnt over the last 5 years what that means. And yes, I was in my head a lot, and it it, wa- it was because of trauma in my childhood, and that needed to be uncovered. So from starting with the doing the master spiritual life coaching course, I did a lot of inner work, and then went to my own therapy and coaching as well to help myself and see what was underneath everything. Um, and yeah, and 5 years later on, I'm a completely different person. So it's doing the inner work, which takes patience, it takes courage. It's that you get to that point where you really want to change and you can't think of any other, you've tried lots of other things and you think, I've got to do something that will change. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck like this for the rest of my life. And I just didn't want to be there. So since then, I'm running my own business called Energy Inspired Somatic Coaching, and also left my corporate role last year, so doing the coaching full time, and I work on my own terms. Yeah, I'm not completely doing 80 hours a week like I was before. I'm not hiding behind work, and I still do a lot of the practices that I learned via yourself every day
Yeah.
to, keep peeling back the onion, shall we say, to see what's underneath everything. And following the spiritual life coaching course, then I also did a somatic course. And that was, again, life changing. But without your course, I wouldn't have been ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that.
I had to be in the right place to do that. And that taught me about going into the body and coming out of the mind and finding what is in the body, because it's always stored there, the emotions and pain is always stored there, and processing it and releasing it. And I've done all that work myself. So that's why I now feel, well, in the last few years, I've helped many people do the same.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, Caroline, you look so much more relaxed
Yes, yeah, I
in
definitely
your
am.
body. You can tell.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah, I definitely am. I mean, it's been a while since we last spoke, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you will see a difference. Because yeah, I was tense all the time and didn't. I just thought that's the way life was. I didn't think there was any other way. And I thought, oh, well, this is just life. Everybody feels like this. And it wasn't until I did the spiritual work that I thought, actually, yeah, and I got pockets of those times where I felt at peace. I thought, I can expand this.
Yeah.
It is there. Sorry, carry on.
Did you suffer, because I'm trying to recall now, did you have a period off work? Did you have
I didn't actually because I think this was part of trying to get past the emotions. Was if I was ill or anything like that, I would push myself through it,
right?
and if anything, I would work harder.
Okay.
And that wasn't the right way, but it was the only way I knew.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That I thought, oh, this is going to make me feel better if I just keep working and piling the hours on and working harder and harder.
Right. And you had a big role, didn't you? You were looking
I
after a lot of
did,
people.
yeah, yeah. So I was a sales leader within a corporate, and yeah, and there was parts of it that I loved. Yeah,
Yeah.
the people part definitely, and I could bring in coaching quite early on into that, and the
Yes.
spiritual coaching really helped with that. Although you don't connect spiritual with corporate, but anyway,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can bring
Yeah.
it in
You can
without
weave
saying
it.
the word. Yeah,
Absolutely, because it's literally just touching the authentic part of the person and
that's it.
not the kind of, like you said, the layered onion, the belief, the conditioned
Yeah.
person, the program person. It's what's inside, and that's where your spirit resides.
Yes.
What do you think, like, through the spirituality? Because there are so many misconceptions. Everybody has a different viewpoint of what spirituality means to them. And to
Mm,
me, it means finding the real core, authentic person who lives life on their terms, who knows their own mind and
mm.
is, has emotional balance and is authentic in their own life
Mm,
because they have deconditioned themselves. That's to me
yeah.
spirituality. What do you find gave you that light bulb moment through it all? Because there's a lot to learn on the spiritual life coaching.
Mm.
What was the one thing? Because I know you said you do daily practice. What was the thing that went, oh my God, the pennies dropped?
Yeah, I think, daily meditation for me
I know you love.
has worked, yeah,
Yeah,
and, I still do that every day, all sorts of different meditations depending on how I feel,
yeah,
and I think that's when the penny dropped for me, that actually feeling burnt out and overwhelmed and anxious is not the norm. It's just the way that somehow, our experiences have conditioned us to feel safe doing that. And I felt a safety inside that I'd never felt before. And that was like an eye opener for me because I knew that I could go back to that place anytime I wanted to. And I didn't need to have somebody outside of me or something outside of me to, to validate that. It was always there and it's always been there. It's just we weren't taught that growing up.
uh,
And everything was, it was all covered up. Our inner wisdom was covered up. And so to me, spirituality, along with what you've said, is about going back to that inner wisdom and knowing that you can self heal. You need help sometimes to help people to guide you to that place, but once you're there, you can always go back to it, and that's spirituality for me.
absolutely. And
Mm,
so rightly so, we're from a generation where we just did what we were told, and we were
mm,
parented by parents who had been traumatized probably by their parents because of
mm,
just the way the generations were. It
yeah,
was not an emotion based society. It was not talk about your feelings. Are you okay? Let me hear you out as a child. It was
mm,
be silent, do what I tell you, and we don't talk about our issues
yes,
in outside of this family. And
yes,
and that's how we were brought up. But society is changing. But there's so much unraveling for people of our generation who are in
mm,
a situation that you were in,
mm,
constantly working just to feel normal, because
Mm.
left on your own devices, you probably felt so dysregulated.
Yeah.
That security of work, being a workhorse, gave you a sense of emotional stability, even though your
Mm.
nervous system will have been on alert
Mhm. Exactly.
24/7, not being able to
Yeah.
always in your head analysing, and the
Mm.
effect that has on the physical body. So, you have a lot of skills to help so many people. Can you share some of your success stories with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few, but I would say one that stands out is a lady that had social anxiety, and coupled with that was overthinking, overanalyzing, and so she was very much like me, as I'd been a few years ago, obviously in her head a lot, not knowing that there was a different way. And I found the spiritual side of it was, firstly calming the system, calming the nervous system. And that was through meditations and other nervous system regulation practices and energy work. And then bringing in, once that system is calm, you can bring in the somatic side of it and process any traumas that might be underneath that. Whether they call them traumas or experiences, it's something that set that off. And that's what we did. So, we worked on the spiritual side, worked on the somatic side, coming out of the mind into the body, which was completely new for her. So it's a new method of working, and it can take a little bit of time and a bit of getting used to. And then she created her own daily practices that worked for her, and journaling was something that really worked for her. So she was always doing something outside of the sessions as well. And from that, she found inner confidence and was able to, there was almost like a lightness about her, that when she was with people, she could start bringing herself into the conversation and not be standing back all the time or feeling really withdrawn. And she was able to do that, bring herself into conversation, build up that inner confidence. And also, she had the methods to be able to go back inside and be aware when that anxiety was coming up. Because if you recognize it in your body, you can stop it going to your mind. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know you know this, but it's then not that cycle of the mind and the emotions working together for the wrong reasons. You can recognize it in your body, get that nervous system regulated, and then your mind will follow in a much calmer way. And she learnt those practices as well. So if ever it came up again, she was able to deal with that.
Lovely.
And of course, anxiety never fully goes away, but it's being able to know that you can manage it. And that feels empowering, to be able to know you've got this, even when it comes up.
Yeah, I agree. And somatics is an amazing field
Mm,
to release trauma from the nervous system. I was
mm,
explaining to somebody the other day that animals can shake it off in the wild. They
yeah.
release all that adrenaline by shaking the body. All that adrenaline's gone. They crack on like nothing ever happened. But as
Mm,
adults, as humans, we
we
suppress it
don't.
all, and it's all within the system. And we work so hard at masking.
Yeah,
Did an interview about saying about how I would look fine, but there were telltale signs that I wasn't fine, and one
yeah,
of those was constant hand wringing.
yeah,
If I was talking to somebody, you would see my hands would not stop doing this.
yeah,
Perfectly making sense. Talk, 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 talk. But inside my
mm,
body was like that, and my hands were just constantly doing this, and I couldn't
yeah,
stop.
yeah,
Um, and there's like a body's telltale sign that the nervous
mm,
system is dysregulated.
mm,
So somatics is an amazing field, and I love it. So
mm.
I think you're doing incredible work. So your life's like really changed a lot, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, completely. I would never have imagined this 5 years ago when we first met and had
Well
that
done.
first phone call. And yeah, it's just. You do the work yourself, but sometimes you need the guides, don't you? You need
Yeah,
that person maybe who's already been there and can give you
it's
that
what
sort
you
of
are now. That's what
set
you
you
are
on.
now. Mm,
Yeah, set you on that path. And I always say to my clients, you will need to do the work. You can't expect a session just to clear it all. There is work to do in between. But once you find that I don't know, light bulb moment, yeah, like you said, like an aha moment, you know that it's working and it's worth doing 10, 15 minutes a day on yourself. Sometimes that's all it takes, as long as it's consistent.
exactly. And
Mm,
the results, like the way your life can change as a result of doing the work, you're living proof of
mm,
that. It's phenomenal. Although people might think, oh, this is hard, or this is never going to work, or this is effort, if they could see their lives in 1, 3, 5 years from where they are, and
mm,
let's put them in a 3 year fast forward, and you said you want to go back. Do you know what I mean? Was that hard work worth it?
mm.
They're never going to want to go back to the place where they're trying
No,
to move away
absolutely.
from. It's just incredible work doing the work. So well done, Caroline. I'm so
Thank
happy to
you.
see that you're now feeling
Yeah,
that way and you're helping other people, which is
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
So we'll get your story shared for International Women's Day. It's been an absolute pleasure to
And
interview
thank
you.
you, and Soul Awakening Academy as well, because
Oh,
that's what set me on the journey. So
yeah,
thank
well, I'm
you.
glad you chose us back then.